In the news this week, Premier Mark McGowan urged to reissue electricity credit to WA families in the upcoming budget as the cost of living continues to rise. An exclusive report coming up.
Also tonight, mental health mandate to save public school kids. Coroner's report into 7-year-old Aishwarya Ashwaf's death reveals government failure when it comes to hospital staffing. And later, Dr. Andrew Miller's comment.
This is The Evening News with Ivan Loom and Maliva Thorne.
Good evening. The push is on for another round of electricity credit from Premier and Treasurer Mark McGowan as the state budget is set to be announced in 3 months. Political commentators also call for water credits as an additional cost of living support for struggling WA families. How much should the utility credits be, and should it be revisited? Political commentator Peter Kennedy joins us exclusively on this matter. Peter, thank you for your time. If you can recall, 95% of viewers and participants says they are worst off. The state budget is coming up. I know you have some solutions, and that's why you're on the show. Tell us what you have in mind for the government.
Well, the survey indicates that a lot of people are hurting, that it's housing costs, the household costs are high, inflation's high, so that this is putting the squeeze on a lot of people, especially those on middle and low incomes. So one of the issues with the budget coming up in May, one of the issues that Mark McGowan should consider is another power subsidy, another electricity subsidy, something like $400 for each household to assist them with their power bills. I think that would be a very important and very popular gesture by the Premier.
Are you able to tell us more about your new ideas on water credits? How should it be done?
Well, look, people should be using water wisely. That's the message from the water people for some years now. I'd say a couple of $100 to assist ordinary households, means tested with their water bills. I think that would be very valuable and ease some of that cost pressure on ordinary families.
Just very quickly, there are 5% participants says their households are better off in the beginning of 2023, which is better than nothing. What does it imply?
Oh, well, look, the wages in Western Australia are among the highest in the country. The average wage in Western Australia is among the highest in the country, ranks with the Australian Capital Territory. And one of the reasons for the high wage is average earnings is because of the mining industry, of course, but it indicates that most West Australians, or many West Australians, are comparatively well off when it comes to wages. So those sort of issues are very important in household costs. It does help, of course, though, to kick up inflation, and inflation is a challenge.
Peter Kennedy, thank you for being with us.
Pleasure, Ivan.
A small group of parents and former teachers are demanding the McGowan government mandate mental health guidelines to protect public school students from self-harm. Advocates are dismayed that only a handful of independent and Catholic schools in WA are following the guidelines. They are demanding immediate change to ensure the welfare of our kids in public schools.
A small group of parents and former teachers protested at Parliament House demanding the McGowan government implement mental health wellbeing mandate in public schools. Several independent schools and Catholic schools took the initiative to prevent self-harm among students, and protesters want to see a broad change. Mark Cummins, a former Catholic school teacher who came all the way to Perth from the southwest region, saying it's unfair that the government did not impose the policy in the public education system.
Our argument is that that is discrimination, and public schools are just as important as Catholic schools. Public school students deserve those same supports and interventions just as Catholic school students do.
Protester Pamela Fink, who lost her son in 2019 to suicide, he was only 17 years old. As a parent, Pamela's frustration towards politicians are expressed through their failure to enact on issues which are in place to protect children.
To me, as a parent that's lost a child to suicide, it seems very simple to me to mandate policies and guidelines that are going to protect children. And they're also going to protect the teachers, because it's going to give them a toolkit with the confidence to know that they're doing the right thing for a child that may be experiencing suicidal ideation or self-harm.
Although the opposition met the demonstrators at the front steps, there are no commitments from both sides of politics for change. Education Minister Tony Booty disagreed that concerned families were not listened to, saying there should not be a mandate given the policy is under review.
Well, they are being listened to, it's just that we don't agree that it should be mandated at this stage. We don't want to mandate that at this stage. All this is under reviews because we want the individual school, we want the individual teachers and principals and the parents to decide how they should proceed with any concerns they may have.
Hi there. Are you looking for a new home or want to refinance your car mortgage to get a better rate? At AA Finance Solutions, we have the expertise and knowledge to help you to find the right loan for your needs and budgets. Contact us today. Let us help you to make your home ownership dream a reality.
AA Finance Solutions, your local mortgage broker.
The WA government is facing a major backlash following the announcement of the coroner's findings regarding the death of 7-year-old girl Aishwarya Ashworth. WA Liberal leader Libby Mettam said the report was damning and that as a parent it was very hard to read. The state coroner, Sarah Linton, discovered there was a possibility that a young girl might have survived if she had been given treatment when she first arrived at Perth's Children's Hospital in April 2021. In regards to the issue of understaffing at the hospital, Ms Linton placed responsibility firmly at the feet of the McGowan government. The Australian Nursing Federation and the Australian Medical Association WA agreed with the report's findings. Meanwhile, Premier Mark McGowan apologised unreservedly via a statement.
Prime Minister Anthony Albanese visited regional WA this week for a first-hand look into country issues. Youth crime, unemployment, alcohol and recent floods caused unrest among regional residents who are demanding change. Federal opposition leader Peter Dutton also visited Laverton in a bid to further understand the struggle of regional WA. Mining and Pastoral Region MLC Neil Thompson hopes the executive level of the federal government works closely with regional communities to ratify specific challenges.
We saw the Prime Minister talking about, for example, social housing and looking very sympathetic to some of our community leaders. Quite frankly, the Prime Minister needs to get on the phone and have a serious conversation with the McGowan government because ultimately it's the state's responsibility. We've got a housing crisis in the north at the moment. We have a rental crisis in the north at the moment. People are literally having to stay either camping or doubling up with family, or couch surfing, or even living in cars in the north. And this is not acceptable. And we've got massive challenges going forward in relation to some of the damage from the flood. But ultimately, we have a crisis that has been building for years because this government has failed to deliver sufficient social housing in the north.
The Kwinana City Council has called on the state government to ban recreational shark fishing in their waters due to the risk that shark fishing poses to animals and people who use the beach, as well as more opposition from people in the community to the practice. Councillors have directed the city's mayor and CEO to advocate the state government on the issue. They will seek to ban recreational shark fishing in Kwinana and on the nearby coastlines. Mayor Adams stated recreational shark fishing causes, quote, unnecessary injury or death to the animals. The move was decided at an ordinary council meeting on Wednesday, the 22nd of February.
The Arab Festival was in full swing at Burswood Park this weekend, with the family-friendly event attracting hundreds of people. The festival was held behind Optus Stadium on Saturday, featuring Arabic food, cultural stalls, belly dances, camel rides, carnival rides and fireworks in the evening. The Australian Arab Association thanked the community for supporting the event.
Arab culture, to showcase the Arab culture to the general West Australian community. Come enjoy a cup of Lebanese coffee or Arabic coffee, all the different foods, all the different styles of Arab culture. Salim, this was his legacy. This was his dream, to introduce the Arab culture to the West Australian society. Unfortunately, due to his passing, he's unable to be with us today. So we, as a tribute to him and to my husband, he is a part of the festival today. And we will always have him. He'll always be a part of the Australian Arab Association as he is the founder.
And now here's AMA WA spokesman Dr. Andrew Miller with his weekly medical and news commentary.
Hi, thanks for your time. We now have the coroner's report into the death of Aishwarya, and it's a very difficult read, particularly so for her family, I'm sure. But it does confirm everyone's suspicions that the place was overworked. There were not enough nurses and doctors there, and unfortunately that led to her not being assessed as needing to be seen quicker. And when her parents tried very hard to escalate her care, they were unsuccessful because the place didn't have enough experienced staff to analyse the situation at the time. So very, very sad. Could she have been saved if they'd seen her earlier? Well, the experts thought that it was unlikely, but that still doesn't mean that it was impossible, and maybe there was a reasonable chance. We know there's a 28% mortality from this particular nasty type of streptococcal sepsis, but that doesn't mean that her chance was only 28% of dying, because clearly she had a very aggressive disease. But in any event, she was denied her last chance at survival by not being seen soon enough. So, where to from here? Well, the coroner's made 5 recommendations, including protecting junior doctors and nurses from being reported to the regulator in circumstances where they're working in resource-starved environments, and also things around electronic medical records, which frankly should be in there already, and other specific nursing ratios in particular to improve the staffing, which of course has happened since then, and is evidence that needed to have happened before. So we hope that this will lead to changes not only in that emergency department but in all of our hospitals across the state, and the realisation that we need to be providing timely emergency care to people. We can't have them waiting around in waiting rooms, waiting around in ambulances. They need to be getting seen sooner, and the only way to do that is to beef up the resources in response to the increasing demand. Also provide more beds in the hospitals so that there's not patients waiting around in the emergency department who could be elsewhere, except for the fact that all the beds are blocked. So hopefully this will be a bit of a wake-up call, and the new Health Minister will implement the changes that we need as quickly as possible. After all, we live in the richest state in the world, so we should have enough money to do this. It's a matter of organisation and the will to do it. Thanks very much for your time.
And that was Dr. Andrew Miller. So, Ivan, I heard you went to the Arab Festival on the weekend. How was it?
Lovely food, lovely culture, very culturally rich, I have to say. This year I still didn't get to ride the camels, but it's lovely to see young people and family enjoying the experience. We'll recap this week's top stories again in just a moment.
But right now, here's Madeline Lombardi with Western Perspective.
Thanks, Ivan and Millie. Welcome to Western Perspective. I'm Madeline Lombardi. Perth Lord Mayor and media personality Basil Zemplis has responded to Mark McGowan's recent announcement on the future of housing within WA. The Lord Mayor sided with the Premier's announcement and spoke about urban infill and the future of Perth CBD.
Yeah, well, we are great promoters of urban infill, obviously, and I think a lot of the announcements made by the Premier today really were announcements that pertain more particularly to outside of the CBD and the City of Perth. Clearly, urban infill, high-rise, density, they are a staple of our city going forward. But nonetheless, we welcome the announcements. If it's easier for people to develop throughout the metropolitan area, if it's easy to get projects built, done and through the system, then that's good, because I think generally speaking we all want less bureaucracy that can get in the way of developments that are good for our broader city.
But then it will lead to a gradual decentralisation of the CBD, do you agree with that?
Well, not necessarily, no. I understand that density and infill is part of a broader solution for housing in our city. There's no doubt about that. But I think the CBD is on its own path. We are forging ahead in our own direction, and I think Edith Cowan University in particular has already sparked, and I'm seeing development approvals and development applications coming through regularly for affordable accommodation, for student accommodation, for build-to-rent model style accommodation. So we know that's happening. and that is being propelled by the influx that ECU is going to bring to our city. And then at the other end of a 750 metre stretch down Elizabeth Quay, we can see with our own eyes a luxury level of accommodation is coming also. So we know more people are coming to our city. There are projects underway right now that tell us there will be more people, a significantly greater number of people living in our city in the next 2, 3, 5 years.
In a council and planning political sense, I know it might not be the most interesting question to plan, but I have to ask this. What does the path contain for the City of Perth, for the CBD alone itself? What sort of path you want it to be on? What is it walking on right now? And what its destination will be?
Yeah, well, we want more people living in the city, as simple as that. You heard the Premier say at the last census 29,000. Now I think we're at around 32,000. But with those developments that are on their way up now that I'm speaking about, we know that we're going to get to about 35 or 36,000 with the completion of those developments. Then the role for council and the private sector working together along with state government is to continue on that journey and to make sure that there are more and more projects in our city. And that means pulling some levers, offering some incentives, perhaps around the plot ratio space, maybe with other rent incentives or rate incentives to be able to entice developers and property owners to come and do their business in the city.
Will we see the possibility of lifting height limits for apartment buildings?
Yes.
Because if you don't do that, you can't put more people in there technically.
Yes, so we have a planning scheme that is under review at the moment, but a key component of that revised planning scheme is a good deal of flexibility. So if the right project comes along that is good for our city and meets other criteria, then we will have a range of flexibility available to us to be able to make sure that proposal is not knocked back on the grounds of height limits, for example. And I think flexibility is the key. So a new scheme with more flexibility is going to result in more projects getting done.
Crime is still an issue in the city, but having said that though, how are you going to make families want to choose to live in the CBD rather than in the suburbs? And also, will there be a path forward for mandatory EV vehicles on apartment building charging?
There will be, and there is. It's a big part of our planning, and sustainability is a key plank of the City of Perth. On the crime or antisocial behaviour, we know that those incidents occur right around the metropolitan area, but we've been very, very dogged in our approach. 175 extra police officers now operate out of the Perth City. They did not operate on our election just over 2 years ago. And events and activations are a huge part of what we offer, and a big part of the offering is around people coming into the city to ensure people numbers, activity, events have the desired impact on antisocial behaviour, i.e. it's not a place for people who wish to not do the right thing to be around. And people in our city is one of the best weapons against that.
That was Lord Mayor Basil Zempilas. You can read that and many other premium stories by subscribing to the WAMN Extra News Club, supporting independent journalism and keeping democracy strong. You can join us by clicking on the link in the description below. And now here's Leah Puglisi with what's coming up on 6 News tonight.
Thanks guys. On 6 News, Lydia Thorpe removed from Sydney's Mardi Gras parade after lying in front of a police float in a protest against cops at Pride, protests in support of Ukraine, while others demonstrate against giving weapons. And former PM Scott Morrison reveals he's not rocking himself to sleep at night in the fetal position. Watch live on our YouTube channel and our website, 6newsau.com. For now though, it is back to you.
Thank you, Leo. And before we go, a brief weather update. We are heading into March very soon, but the warm weather refuses to go away. Perth is set to receive hot temperatures in the middle of the week with 33 degrees on Monday, 36 on Tuesday and Thursday, and a scorching 38 on Wednesday and 34 on Friday. We can also expect warmer overnight temperatures between 20 to 23 degrees. And that's all from Western Perspective this week. We'll be back with you next Sunday. Until then, Ivan and Melly, it's back to you two.
Thanks, Maddie. And that's our weekly news and current affairs. We have the latest news on our website, wamnnews.com.au.
Don't forget to subscribe to the WAMN Extra News Club so we can continue our work in the community. Full details on wamnnews.com.au/news/extra. From Melly and myself, we wish you good health, good night. See you next Sunday.
Thanks for watching.